Well, hello and welcome to today's edition of the Pastor's Study. You know, one of the challenges as you look at Nehemiah, there are sections that seem like a lot of names and just a lot of writing and what's the value and what's it worth. And chapter 11 is one of those. The chapter heading that I have in my Bible actually says, heads of providences. Well, what we're seeing here is sort of a division of labor and a division of responsibilities. And, throughout our lives, we will encounter situations where we are either working for somebody, under somebody's authority, or we have a responsibility as a parent. I have a responsibility first to take care of my wife. And when I had children in the home, I had a responsibility to them. They also had a responsibility to do the things that I needed them to do. Sometimes tasks were assigned. There was a period of time when we lived on Guam. Each evening after the meal was done, my wife and I would go out for a walk. We would take that time to get alone, to walk the neighborhood a couple times around. And since we had some 3 kids when we first started out, 2 later on, and then eventually just 1 living with us, part of that responsibility meant that as we went out, they had to do the dishes. Certainly when there were 3 of them, there was plenty of help, and they were responsible for clearing the table and doing the dishes and getting them all put away, washing them up, putting them away. It was just a way of sharing in that responsibility. And part of that is what we see here. Part of that leadership. Not everybody could live in Jerusalem, and yet so that they would understand what God was doing, so that they could be communicated. There was leaders of the various areas that were designated by Nehemiah and set up and selected and pointed out. We see that in our places of worship as well. The Bible calls for us to have elders. A pastor is an elder. You have other men that serve along, because the scriptures often talks about that plurality of elders, men who were qualified to lead a church, to guide it, to keep it on track, to make sure that it stays true to the Word of God. Take a look around you. Who do you have to submit to? Who do you have to follow? Even if you are owner of a business, you have customers. And who is it that you have to take care of as well? Think about your place in that leadership chain. Until next time, when we get together, this is Ray Bertolette saying goodbye, and may God